7 years ago, I attended my first ever debate tournament. And I remember I sat in the very first round, holding my paper. I could feel my heart was about to jump out of my chest out of excitement. And I looked to my left. There I see my partner, tapping his foot, staring viciously across the room at my opponents. Check. I look in front of me. I see the judge taking out paper, pen, getting ready to scrupulously write down everything I say. Check. And as I went through this imaginary list of things I was expecting to see at my tournament, I looked to my right and saw my opponents. And they hawked at me with these eyes that were thoroughly unimpressed. Like what I was about to say was so nonsensical and illogical, it wasn't even worth their consideration or rebuttal. And I thought, well, I spent a lot of time preparing for this. Hopefully, throughout my speech, I'll be able to change their mind. And so for the next 6 minutes, I stood up there and I read through my piece of paper, my prepared speech. And every now and then, I would look at my partner, still looking viciously across the room. I would look at the judge, who was now nodding and smiling. And I would look at my opponents, who still, throughout my entire speech, had this persistent look of apathy. And I was disappointed, to be honest with you. I wasn't expecting my opponents to flat out agree with everything I said, but I was certainly expecting them to be more accepting. So I went through the next 5 rounds of the tournament. And every round, I saw the exact same scenario repeat itself. And I asked myself, why? Why was this happening? And the answer to that is very simple. To illustrate it for you, I'll ask you a simple question. Why do you debate with other people? Are you really going in to change your own mind? Are you going in to learn? Or are you walking into debates with the intent to use that new statistic that you learned last week? Are you walking into debates not to convince the other person, because you know they won't agree with you, but rather to convince yourself that you are correct? And debate, in a way, drew me to this problem that I was noticing in society, which is that when we engage in civil and intellectual conversation, our goal is no longer to understand, but to reinforce our own radicalism. Society, in our pursuit of victory over understanding in this debate, has bound itself to the shackles of division, and us, riding off the ecstasy of victory, have willingly sat as prisoners. This lack of mutual understanding has slowed down our society's progress. It has stifled the potential for our communities to reach their fullest. And in many ways, even though debate was the activity that presented me with the problem, it's also the activity that presented me with the solution. The solution is a very simple word: perspective. In debate, you take many different perspectives. Oftentimes, you're asked to debate for sides that you don't even agree with yourself. You have to come up with argumentation, respond to arguments that you might have made yourself, even frame arguments that you don't agree with as more important than the ones you would have made. And having done probably hundreds of debate rounds over the past 8 years, what I've summarized is that having to debate for a side you don't agree with shows you that side's perspective. And I'm not encouraging all of you to become competitive debaters. What I'm saying is that in society, we take advantage of our innate ability as humans to understand other people's perspectives. We start to understand the points they're making. and we start to reconcile. And because perspective is the solution, every intellectual conversation, discussion we walk into, we have to keep in mind and be ready to accept that others have different perspectives. Now, there's a very simple exercise for this, which is I want you right now in your head to think of a political stance you could never imagine yourself agreeing with. Okay? Now imagine I assign you to the other side of that debate. What arguments would you make? And the fact of the matter is, most of the time, if an issue is controversial enough for us to have an opinion on it, there will be another side of the debate that maybe we're not considering enough of. So at the end of the day, once again, as great as it would be, I'm not asking everyone to become competitive debaters and dedicate your time to do all of these debate rounds. What I am saying is that it might be useful for everyone here to take advantage of that debate mindset, to take advantage of the understanding of perspective. Because in trying times such as these, it may be our only path to understanding. Thank you.